Hello everyone, my name is Rehana and I'm the founder of MummyYoga and the creator of Keep Me Close Babywearing yoga class. This is a video about the babywearing yoga class. So as you can see, it's a slightly different setting to the front of the sofa setting that you normally see me in, because this is a quick opportunistic video. As I was fielding some of your emails around the baby-wearing yoga class, some questions you've asked, some feedback you've sent, which is amazing, some queries you have about sling and movement, all of those things, I thought it might actually be a good idea to do a bit of an overall video about what that class is, and why is it so special. What I will do is a series of videos around the individual elements, if you like, of the class and what we are thinking, what is the science, what's the experience of a lot of people. But in this first video, I really wanted to talk about the overall picture, if you like, just an overview of what this class is. So this is a class that is born out of my need for a partnership with my babies, very early days, when my babies were little, and even now, Ruby is probably 9 weeks old, and we've been doing this class together since she was only a few days old, and it's began as my need for that. So going back a few years now, with the birth of my first daughter, she'll be 6 soon, all the classes that I went to were either for her or for me. They weren't for both of us. There was nothing out there which we could both equally enjoy. And you might say, well, newborn, how can newborn and mum both have equal equal experience in a class? I know what I was asking for was probably a bit too much, but that was the way our lifestyle was. We did things in partnership. So for example, if I took her to a baby class, which could be the baby massage or something like that, the class was for her. Or if I went to an exercise class where even if I took her with me, she was on the mat, quite far away, just being a bystander, if you like, of the yoga or whichever exercise that I did. And there was a bit of distraction or entertainment, if you like, that she got out of me when I was doing the exercise. And it was just that. It was just distraction or entertainment. It wasn't really something that she was truly getting. And more importantly, we weren't actually doing something together, if that made sense. We were going to places together, but we weren't actually doing something together. Like we would with a friend. If we have a cup of coffee in the cafe with our friend, we're doing it together. The experience of drinking the coffee, even though we are drinking the coffee ourselves and our friend is drinking the coffee themselves, but by sharing that moment, which is equally interesting and engaging to both of us, the commonality in that coffee analogy, if you like, is the conversation, right? So I could be sitting in a cafe on my own, drinking the coffee, and so could my friend. But by bringing that conversation, what we chat to each other, we have now shared that experience in equal measure. And that's what I mean by bonding, right? So if I took my baby to a class which was, don't get me wrong, I do love baby massage classes and I enjoyed a lot of them, but they were for my baby. They weren't for both of us. And again, as I said, the other exercise classes or any other classes. So this, to me, was the point of departure. I knew that yoga was so wonderful to me. It had given me so much. It was always something that I found myself going to, putting the mat down when when I needed some space, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and it always kept giving. And I couldn't kind of leave my baby out of that. I wanted her to experience and share that's whatever wonderful feelings I was getting from the yoga, and I couldn't leave her behind. So that was the first element of moving, bringing all those things that I brought to my yoga practice. So for example, my breath modulation was very, very powerful when I did yoga. How I paid attention to my breathing, how my mind calmed down when I was breathing a certain way, even if it was breathing within that, movement, postures, not just meditation. I wanted my baby to experience that. I didn't want her to be so far away down on the mat and just kind of watch me feel great. I wanted her to feel great. She's so precious to me. Why wouldn't I want to share this with her? So initially it just started with kind of just moving around with her in the sling, and then turning that movement into a yoga-based movement. But before all of that came our breath together. So one of those most powerful things that I know about stress management is modulating breath. The quickest way we can respond differently to stress is by changing our breath. And the more we do this, the more regularly we do this, the more successfully we will be able to do them in times of need when we are very, very stressed. And that the way the whole body then changes its relationship with all the internal stuff, digestion, blood supply, brain activity, all of those things. The gateway of that is breath, the communication of what the external environment is and how we are going to be on the inside physiologically. That bridge is the breath. So if I have a calm physiological environment because I can modulate my breath, I know that my baby so close to me will feel that same environment. Babies won't copy our breath by breath, if you like. So if I'm breathing 4 to 6 times a minute, that doesn't mean that the baby's breath will be the same. They breathe very differently. Their mechanics are very different. Their lung maturity is very different. So those things will invariably stay different. The physiological response to stress will be how babies respond to a stressful environment, and ours will be like how we adults do. But what will be similar, or what we will share, is that low stress environment. So if we feel less stressed, then we are passing that sense of physiological connection, that the babies will be less stressed. So the way we communicate that is, so for example, through our breath modulation, we do a lot of work around how that breath comes out of us. So the kind of humming that we do, the kind of using the sound of our breath to influence our physiology, all of those things, we are actually affecting their physiological response to stress. So that is really the crux of the class. And then on top of that, we layer movement, and telling our babies when we move gently, comfortably, softly, that mom is moving about. The movement is very important to babies from an evolutionary point of view. If you are very, very still, for example, and I'm not talking about lying down or comfortably just sitting on the sofa with the baby, don't get me wrong, but an absolute stillness means that the baby can feel, in times when it was life in general was full of threats, absolute stillness could be death, right? So that fear of absolute stillness goes away when we are moving gently, when we're doing our own thing. Our sound as we breathe, merging with that movement, all of that creates that sense of comfort for the baby. And it doesn't come about like in the first class. It's something that our baby comes to expect, comes to learn. And over time, this practice of moving with that rhythm, the breath in the rhythm, all of that brings that such a delicious, comfortable, shared space of quiet and calm. Then on top of that, the cherry on the cake is what I think it is the fact that this is a strong practice. There is no denying it. I am a living example of this. So it is only through this practice that I went back to all the strength that I am used to, feeling. And it is also a practice that you just don't wake up and, boom, 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 start to do a lot of exercise. It is a practice where I say we put the horse before the cart. So we sort of experience our new motherhood in a positive way. We're not just thinking about, oh my God, I've put on so much weight, and when am I going to lose this pregnancy weight, and I don't know, my abs or my bum or whatever it is that the social media and all the other kind of media want us to worry about. This is a class that begins gently, will build up in our own time, will help us kind of layer up the intensity, the strength elements, the flexibility elements, and our baby's growing, and every time you kind of come to the class where you're putting the baby and moving with the baby, you experience postural changes. You'll have to change your posture a little bit. And every time you do a class, and we keep talking about posture and moving correctly, means as your baby gets older, you will be able to carry your baby still for a long period of time. Because one of the questions I routinely get is my baby too big to be in a baby wearing yoga class? And I find that question quite fascinating, because we have somewhere in our minds that our baby has now become too big. And that could come through just, physical experience. Oh my God, she is heavy now. But that experience, it comes one fine day when we have kind of worn our baby a few days after, they're born, because they don't want to be put down. And then we kind of get used to them being in the prams or in the cots, and we haven't worn our baby for a while. And then again, after a few months, if we kind of put our babies in the sling, we think, whoa, isn't she heavy? Now, if we come to this class week on week, we don't feel the baby getting heavier. But it's not just about wearing your baby. It's about moving with your baby. How does your baby feel an hour after you worn her? And not just an hour of standing still or sitting down, an hour of moving. An hour of, we do a lot of balances in the class, a lot of challenging stuff. And how do we hold really, really good posture while keeping babies safe? So we talk about all the safety elements of baby wearing yoga class. The baby wearing safety elements of slings. So we don't want the baby so low. We still want her spine and her knees and all of those things in really good position. So there is no compromise to the baby's structure and her body comfort, her airways, the way these things are kept in a safe manner. So how do we then wear our babies safely and move, and to the point where it's still comfortable to us an hour later? And that comes through understanding and all the time continually paying attention to posture. So this class is a combination of life, really, of motherhood outside of this narrow remit of the class, is what I really wanted to kind of build up on. How can we manage our stress, our baby stress as they grow up, and not only that, with that co-regulation. And I'll do a few more little clips about the science and the neuroscience of co-regulation and what that means. But when we are able to early days learn with each other and co-regulate our emotional space, our physical space, we can build that relationship up as they get older. So, you know, primary school is crazy for my six-year-old. A lot of things happen to her. So at the end of the day, that, you know, big cuddle, and then we start to breathe the way that we know since she was a baby, to kind of just collectively come back to that space of safety, calm, and a safe place, right? So those things that we build up stay with our children for a long time. And also that lived experience of feeling strong. So we are telling our babies that physical activity and movement and being strong is important to us. And I continually say that our strength, our physical strength, is a lot more than the sum of our bums and tums and biceps and, I don't know, each individual body part. We are a lot more whole, right? We're not some of our body part. That's a male chauvinistic perspective on the human body, on the female body. It is not how we experience our body. So this also, I mean, yoga practice in general, but this class in particular, especially becoming a mom, and how to see our identity as a whole person rather than the sum of our body parts. As we get stronger, we get functionally stronger. We are still holding our baby, but we can do things that will allow us to be strong in our day-to-day activities in our life. Now that is something, is a lesson, is a partnership that is worth sharing with our children. Showing our children that mom is a strong person. Mom is a person who can do whatever she wants, and in a positive way, not just because she's been told by the media that she has to do a certain thing. So I think going back to, you know, starting with the stress management, with breathing, with movement, with just starting small movements postnatally, to building up strong movements as we go beyond those first few months, and starting to build back our energy levels, our fatigue, and, you know, just sort of improving our sleep quality, mood quality, all of those things. So all of that science as well is built into this class, and experiential understanding as well. And now it is about getting your experiential understanding as well to further enhance the class, to make those wonderful differences of how we kind of experience. And let me, before I go, touch upon this wonderful research that talks about how people who move together don't fight. They synchronize, their heart rate synchronizes, their body language, their body movements, their internal physiology synchronizes. And I'll leave you with that thought, because think about the rituals of tribal dance, right? When the tribal members come together and dance by the fire, they're creating bonds between themselves that are unbreakable. When the ritual of marching in an army, what's that? We fall into step. People who fall into step, people whose heart rates synchronize, tend not to fight with each other, tend to get along with each other. Our collective view of the world starts to kind of merge. You know, kind of we all come together at that similar point of thinking. These are such powerful inbuilt in us as humans, that if you start to notice, these kind of collective moving rituals are there in every aspect of society where we need to think together. And this class embodies that. When we come together, we move together, our babies are all, we are creating this community. You know, how many times do we hear it takes a village to bring up children? Well, we can't have a fractious village. We can't have couple of members of the village feeling that the babies should be brought up in a certain manner, and some other elements of society feeling that a baby should be brought up because this is what creates what you see today, the whole infighting among experts, among judgmental attitude among mums, and how society and media increases that sense of fractiousness. When we move together with our babies together, we're less likely to disagree. We're likely to have a conversation that will help us see each other's point of view, come together with a similar view of how we should be bringing up our children, and genuinely from a physiological, deep down body experience, we're going to build this like-minded village. So I've rattled on for quite a long time, more than I thought I was going to say, but I've really enjoyed sharing my overarching thoughts of what made me start this class, and what makes me keep coming to this class again and again, and see the wonderful benefits that a lot of women get, all the way from little breathing practices to the community we are slowly building together. So I hope that this has whet your appetite, has made you sit up and think about those subtle things that matter behind the scenes, and time's quickly running out. So I hope that that you've enjoyed this, and on the back of it, if you've had any thoughts, any comments, then certainly put them below wherever you're watching this video, or just send me an email, and I'd be very happy to kind of incorporate all of your comments and feedback as well as we go forward videos on this. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for watching.